Hi everybody, this is the baseball head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host of Hood, and welcome back to the baseball head. I hope you like this video and hit that subscribe button. I can't tell you how pissed off I am right now. Okay, I was hoping to watch this game tonight, but it's not so much about the game. It's the behavior of the Atlanta Braves. Okay, this has been going on for many years, and it's sort of been swept under the rug for a long time, and it's sort of reared its head up, and it's going to be forgotten about. Major League Baseball will forget about this. The media will forget about this, but I will not. Now, the Mets played poorly on Tuesday in the opener of this three-game series. But for the last 4 or 5 days, the weather has been known down there in Atlanta. And as behind the scenes, the Braves absolutely refused to do anything about it. They absolutely refused, flat out, to make any kind of changes to one, the days they're going to play the games, the times they're going to play the games, or possibly going to another location. The Mets have had all kinds of issues for many years with this particular franchise, with this opponent. This opponent is scared shitless of the Mets, and they play all this monkey crap and all this sort of ticky-tack nonsense that they've been doing for many years. Now, I have an article that came out and sort of discuss what was going on behind the scenes prior to the two rainouts, okay? This is a major hurricane that's going to hit the Florida coast, and it's going to go through Georgia, okay? This has been known for several days, but I have this from 224. This is from New York Post, Joel Sherman. Here's the headline: How Braves' decision for Mets series set up nightmare scenario of Hurricane Helen bearing down. Again, they could have chose to play on Monday, all right? One of the things the Braves do all the time, in particular when they play the Mets, say in a three-game series, they'll set up whoever does the schedule, they'll set up a three-game series with the Mets and the Braves in Atlanta. The first day, night game. Second day, night game. Third day, a lot of times, the Mets going off to another town. The Braves always choose a night game every freaking time. And they've done this for years, and that's been the biggest lament that not only the New York Mets have, but also the broadcasters. And a lot of times the Braves refuse to have any day games. And this goes back to the other ballpark. So this nonsense about logistics, about people going in and out of ballparks, is a bunch of monkey crap. Let me read you I'm so fired up about this, okay? For reasons of business, logistics, and perhaps gamesmanship, the Braves did not get this. The Braves did not want to shift start times, days or locations for their series against the Mets, despite forecasts that made it iffy to play Wednesday night and even less likely to play a three-game series finale Thursday night. It took them till 5 o'clock tonight, folks, to call this game, call both games. So we got everybody at the ballpark. It got both teams to the ballpark, got the media to the ballpark, the broadcast teams to the ballpark, and that's when they called it. Stupid. MLB could have overridden any desire of either team and forced different logistics for the games and did not. They're also complicit in this, okay? Thus, now the teams in MLB are in the path of a different kind of storm that will raise questions about fairness, logistics, and more, and potentially worsen embarrassment for the league for not being more proactive to get these games played when it's becoming clearer and clearer what the impact of Tropical Storm Helen could be. Another thing, the Tigers play the Rays. They changed the time to play. They changed the time. Why couldn't the Braves do that? Why couldn't they do that? MLB had been holding out hope that enough pockets would become available to play Wednesday, but the forecast and conditions worsened, and late Wednesday afternoon, both Wednesday and Thursday games were postponed. Doubleheader is now scheduled for Monday at 1:10 at Truist Park. That is the day after what was supposed to be the end of the regular season and the day before the wild card round of the playoffs. Now, here's another thing, folks. There is talk that they may get rain out on Friday, and the Royals are going in on Friday, and the Royals have their own playoff situation they have to consider. So these assholes down in Atlanta, who, by the way, I was thinking about this coming home, and I've said this for quite a few years. You're in Atlanta, Georgia. It rains all the time. Why don't you have a ballpark with a roof on it? The two Texas teams, the Astros and the Rangers, have roofs. The Marlins and the Rays have roofs. But why don't the Braves have a roof? They've had 3 ballparks since 1996. And they are not dome stadiums. The Falcons have a dome. Okay? The Falcons have a dome. Why don't the Braves have a dome? The reason this was a 3-game series is because it was rain out back in April. Because these assholes didn't take into account that it rains a lot in Georgia. And Atlanta in particular. And you think the people in Atlanta and the people in the state of Georgia would say, let's put a ballpark that has a roof in it for the Braves, who've been there longer than the Falcons have, and have been there longer than any other professional team. Can somebody explain that to me? I had the YouTuber, it was a Braves show, Tyler Redmond, on my show. Very few people have been on the show. Because I say it like it is, I don't care. I asked him why they didn't have a roof. He couldn't give me really an answer. He could not give me an answer. I think it's because they're retarded. I think the people that run that ball club are retarded, to be honest with you. And I think that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. I think they are so afraid of doing things in an honest way with the New York Mets in particular that they resort to this nonsense. Now, just think about this. If there is nothing that's been decided when the Mets have to go play Milwaukee and they're playing the Royals this weekend, the Mets have to fly. Just get this. The Mets have to fly down to Atlanta to play 2 games against these assholes. Then if they win both games, then they have to go, and it's Milwaukee, to Atlanta, and then have to go to San Diego to play the Padres. Tuesday. And they did this all on purpose, folks. All on purpose because they know that the Mets are going to beat them. Now, I know the Mets looked lousy last night. We know that. We know the team has struggled in Atlanta. But I've been thinking a lot about this stuff. Why does it always seem the Mets seem to be like a different team? They seem like they play like they're a different team every time they go to Atlanta. Okay, every single time. I'll make a couple of suggestions. If you're old enough, you know when teams played in the Astrodome, they always did kind of weird things with the air conditioning. Or sometimes they'd have the air conditioning on in certain ways that would help their pitching or would hurt the opponent. I wonder if they're doing stuff in that clubhouse when the Mets come in, not putting enough air conditioning in the clubhouse or too much air conditioning enough, because it always seems like when the Mets go there, they always have sort of a very passive mentality with the at-bats. The pitching's always lousy. It can't just be a coincidence, and it can't be this attitude where the team plays one way on Sunday against the Phillies, who are better than the Braves, by the way, and the Mets have played well, even though the Mets lost 2 out of 3 in Philadelphia last weekend, 2 weekends ago. They played well, but then they go to Atlanta and they look listless. What kind of air are they pumping into the clubhouse hours before the game starts that the Mets have to breathe this crap in? And it sounds conspiratorial, but we know that teams do this kind of stuff. I'll give you another example. Have you seen the mini series with the Lakers on HBO? Well, in one of the episodes, and this happened in one of the games, when the Lakers played the Celtics in Boston, they said they had a problem with the air conditioning and it was hot. It was like 100 degrees in the Boston Garden. The reality was that the Celtics turned the air conditioning off. So how do we know they're not pumping in some kind of air, some kind of disgusting air to make the Mets passive? I wouldn't put it past them. And I wouldn't put it past the fact that they probably cheated 2 years ago to catch the Mets in 2022. It wouldn't shock me. Nothing shocks me with this ball club at all. Okay? Nothing shocks me when it comes to, they always seem to know what pitches were coming in back in the 90s. That would not shock me by how the way Greg Maddux pitched. I never seen a pitch dive like his pitches used to dive. Those 2-seam fastballs he used to throw. Nobody threw like that. The ball looked like it was going to be, and it would break like that. Nobody's pitch ever broke like that. Why? Tom Glavine didn't seem to know how to pitch when he got to the Mets. This guy was throwing pitches and didn't throw hard, but when he got to the Mets, didn't know how to pitch. Then in the final game, he ever pitched for the Mets and basically did not, pony up all the money he stole from the Mets for 5 years. Pitched terribly, and when the game was up, I don't care. Pretty much that was his attitude. I don't care. Didn't care that the Mets lost on the final day of the season. Didn't care that he get out of the first inning. So this is the deal, okay? Things that Braves do is not honest. This was not honest. This was not fair. Everybody knew that the weather was going to be bad today and tomorrow. The Braves did absolutely nothing, folks. Absolutely nothing to protect themselves, protect the integrity of the game, and get these games in. And they certainly didn't seem to want to help to go to another location, because who knows what kind of garbage they're doing. Isn't it kind of weird if you watch the broadcast in the third inning, how they were jumping on pitches, they knew how to hit certain pitches in that third inning. It's so strange. It happened 2 years ago, where they were jumping on pitches that you couldn't believe were going out. Even last year, specifically in Atlanta. So they don't want to leave this location. Do whatever kind of nonsense they're doing there, they want to continue to do it there. It's not just because it's home. Also, there was word that they didn't want to they were saying, I was reading this online, during the afternoon. Well, they don't want to make things inconvenient for the people in the ballpark. It's just logistically difficult. You're going to have to bring in the workers to come in at earlier times, and they're possibly able to. Too bad. Too bad. They have no problem. They don't want to do that. But meanwhile, we'll schedule a doubleheader on Monday. And here's another thing. This is how stupid this is. How stupid the Braves are. They told the fans that had a ticket for Wednesday's game, you can't use it for the doubleheader. Only the tickets for Thursday that you can use for the doubleheader. So in other words, if you want to go to one of these games, you have to buy a ticket. Unless you have Thursday's ticket. It's total bullshit. But if you have a Thursday ticket, you can go to both games. Complete total stupidity. But the Braves are a class organization. I would say this too. Prior to the 1990s, they were the worst franchise in baseball history. There were another franchise in Boston other than going to the World Series in 1920. They couldn't stay in Milwaukee even with the great Hank Aaron there, and they won a World Series. And then for 25 years, folks, from 1966 to 1990, they were a dump, a garbage heap of a team and a franchise. So just keep that in mind. Garbage, they kind of come back to where they are. They were always, and they were never Boston's team. The Red Sox were always number one team there. Meanwhile, they were there for 25 years. Prior to the Red Sox showing up on the scene. Well, I had to vent. You should have heard me earlier. Practicing this video. If you heard me earlier, it was a lot more entertaining than this. Well, let me know what you think about this video. And I can't tell you, I'm sure you're all mad about this. Because now, this is a real inconvenience for the Mets. Having to go back and forth, up and down. Mets better win it. At least they don't have to play any games. If Diamondbacks lose and play poorly this weekend, then this all comes moot. And then the great commissioner of baseball will decide to send the Mets to San Diego and then have to travel. He'll screw that up to the Mets, against the Mets too. So that's another story for another day. So thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut, and I'll see you later.